Welcome one and all to another edition of the Defo Show with Lubie here on the 5 Reasons Sports Network, brought to you by Water Cleanup of Florida. The rains, they came coming yesterday, and what used to be a sign of some trepidation, being a homeowner, working in offices, is something that doesn't even faze me anymore. Now knowing that Water Cleanup of Florida is there to make sure my leaks are taken care of, they will do the same for you. 954-579-0356. Just give them a call. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And again, like I've talked about so many times, with over 60 years of combined experience between Michael, Robert, and their entire team, plus again, being open to you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, Water Cleanup of Florida is your place to go with any leak issues before they come. Look, you see a spot on the wall. I learned firsthand. My wife kept saying there's something there, and I was like, no. Well, it became a big deal. If I had just listened to her, if I had just acted swiftly, it never would have became a problem. And again, Water Cleanup of Florida came out and made that problem go away. It made it look brand new. But when it comes to leak, there are certain signs early. If you act fast, it can be even better for you. Water Cleanup of Florida is that place to go. Plus, again, they will make it look brand new with having certified contractors, licensed, insured contractors on staff. They'll not only get the job done, they'll not only take care of it, but they'll make it look good as new. 954-579-0356, the website, WCUFL.com, socials, at Water Cleanup of Florida. Check out them, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. Also, if you want more proof, because my word's worth it, I have worked with them. They did an amazing job on our home, and my wife doesn't mess around, and she loves Water Cleanup of Florida. Go to Google with over 75-star reviews. And I've been saying this a while now, so they probably have way more than that at this point. People love Water Cleanup of Florida. Any water issues at your home or office, they are your place to go. If you have the schmutz, they have the guts. 954-579-0356 to get in touch with Water Cleanup of Florida. A man that took a lot of schmutz and made it gold for years for the Miami Dolphins. McDuffie now does some stuff on the radio, does stuff with CBS 4. He joins us here and there, a guy that is a calming influence for the Dolphins. Not very happy, as most Dolphins fans aren't with the last couple of games, but OJ is a voice not only of reason, but a voice of insight as to what the Dolphins can do to go forward, to get things back on track. Not only the Sunday in Buffalo, he's a guy who played in Buffalo many a time, so he can talk about his times there, talked about all of that with OJ McDuffie right here on the Defo Show with Lubie on the 5 Reasons Sports Network. One and only OJ McDuffie right on cue. This gentleman who we could use the last few games for the Miami Dolphins. Need a guy to just make catches and move the chains. Good morning, Juice. How you doing, my friend?
You know, I'm good. Lubie, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing well. One of the hosts of the Fish Tank podcast. Also, check them out on 560 WQAM and CBS 4. They're everywhere. And he's here with us right now. All right. I've been asking everyone, just point blank, what was your impression of Sunday's game, Dolphins versus Chargers?
Disappointing, man. Very disappointing. You know, I thought we left a lot on the table in the San Francisco game. I thought we left a lot of meat on the bone in that San Francisco game against the number one defense, and I just knew we'd get it fixed going into San Diego. Or L.A., I'm sorry.
Yeah, well, they actually went to San Diego. The game was in L.A., yeah, exactly.
Right. So that was tough, man. It was tough to watch. From beginning to end, it was tough to watch. And like I said, very shocking that we didn't put it together. I know we missed some throws in the San Francisco game. Guys were running wide open. This game seemed like the throws were there, but the guys couldn't get open. So I don't know what the difference has been. I saw a lot of guys like they're a little banged up, but hell, this is that week of this time of the year where everybody's a little banged up, So I was just shocked that we weren't able to make those connections. Then I was also shocked. I know that they have a few high-powered guys on their team, with Eckler and Allen, but they're not that much. They're not that dynamic where our defense shouldn't have been able to step up and make some stops and make some plays. Couldn't get off the field, Lubie. We couldn't get off the field on defense, couldn't stay on the field in offense, and that's just a perfect storm, bro. Because you go to a game where, you don't turn it over, but you don't make any plays either, and that's how we laid an egg out there for sure.
Well, and what's interesting is your sentiments are very much what mine were. The We had Chris Perkins on. We talked to some other people. Their sentiments were a little different. They were a lot tougher on Tua. Said he played really badly. He missed a lot of throws. And I was like, look, I missed the first quarter. I only got to watch the last three, and maybe they showed some replays of him throwing high and this and that. When I watched, that wasn't the case. Like, when I watched, there was no room. And I get it. They want a quarterback to throw a guy open. You need a little space. And the coverage was freaking ridiculous. And they were letting the Chargers play like it was the 1980s, and that's, it happens. Some games they let you play. You need to figure it out. My issue was, and McDaniel's come out and admitted it, the game plan that was working when you had a healthy Waddle, a healthy Hill, and a healthy Armstead is not the same game plan. I get it. Teams have figured it out. It also helps to have those guys healthy. When they're not healthy, they can't do as much. Okay, well, you have to change the game plan, and he didn't. They didn't run the ball. But the last two games, he's thrown the run game out early, which I don't understand. And they didn't do the underneath routes that work so well when you have speed guys. He kept chucking it down the field. And he's come out and said, look, I got to change. And that's the thing that I don't think people want to realize. He is a first-year coach. As much as the guy's been a genius and a guru and this and that, it's hard to make in-game adjustments when you're learning on the fly. And I think that's the thing he has to get better at is from game to game, it seems like he's pretty good at it. In game, when things are falling around him, he just sticks with the script, and that can't always be the case.
Yeah, there were a couple things, like you talk about. I would never question Mike and his intellect and, his play calling ability, but we kind of stuck in a rut. I saw some comparisons yesterday, and Dan Orlovsky and Ryan, I think it was Ryan Clark, was showing that we're running the same exact plays against the Niners that we did, in the Chargers, and these guys made those adjustments, and we never did. There has to be some check downs. There has to be some tight end involvement. There has to be some outrunning routes, some 7 routes. If they're going to play cover 2 shell as much as they do now because they don't respect our run game, you got to be able to get these guys up on these safeties and running some 7 routes to the outside. Everything inside is always clogged up now because they know that's our game, and I'm sure Mike will make that adjustment moving forward. But man, oh man, it was crazy. It's like Groundhog Day when they showed those two films side by side. And you're like, damn, because we rarely get the whole picture of the field. I always talk to my man Travis Wingfield, when it comes to the all 22 film, and that he can see the whole picture. And he's like, damn, we missed this one, we missed that one, But then when they showed those all 22 looks, then you see how we're pretty much running the same stuff, some different formations, but no different outcuts, no different breaks, and we got guys that really didn't get any separation. It was frustrating to watch. It really was.
Well, and okay, as a receiver, now let's say supposedly Hill's ankle is an issue, and Waddle did miss most of the Niners game. So yeah, he came back this week, but he had 3 targets and 1 catch. You can't tell me he's fully healthy. Right. A lot of what they've been doing with both Waddle and Hill is moving them before the play, right? The last 2 games, we haven't seen a lot of that. I ask you, as a guy who was a tough as nails receiver, who Marino wasn't scared to throw between 4 dudes, and we expected you to catch the ball, and you did. When your lower half is injured, does it change how you go about routes or go about what you do before a route?
Our lower half, other than our hands, is the most important part. Our ability to stop and go and cut and come back and gain that separation. If you don't have that lower half, man, it's easy to glue you. And these guys are playing a couple of different coverages that are always tough anyways in those situations. So I saw a few times they were playing 2-man, which means that they weren't worried about Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill running by them because they had help over the top. So they were underneath a lot of our routes. They weren't worried about the other guys on one-on-ones because, they weren't getting the looks or the targets that, that you'd like for other guys to get when you have those type of coverages on your number 1 and number 2 receiver. So when it comes to that bottom half, man, look, when I hurt my foot, I had to run routes on one side one way and on the other side of the line of scrimmage the other way, because, it was debilitating. So I'm sure the same thing is happening with these guys with these lower body injuries. Jalen just looked like he's laboring out there a little bit. Can run straight ahead, but the stop and go is just not there. The burst isn't there. And Tyreek, once his ankle was messed up, then you really got to worry about him and his ability to stop. He can run straight ahead, as we saw with the touchdown
and the fumble,
and pick the scoop and score. But at the same time, though, stop and being able to create that separation, that's the hardest part. Because no matter how fast these guys are, these DBs, they're going to dig. They're going to, once you stop, they're going to start coming. As a matter of fact, there was one pass that Tyreek was open and he was waiting on the ball. And usually when you're waiting, you start working your way back to the quarterback. He waited, and the DB was able to recover, You know what I mean? So these guys have to work on, when you're running a curl route or a stop route and the ball's not there yet, work your butt back to the quarterback until you meet the football, and that's something that they didn't do the other day.
Okay, now you played under Don Shula and then Jimmy Johnson, so I don't know if you were ever doing this, but in a game, when you can see things are not working, and you can, and you feel things are not working, how involved are the players in saying, hey, coach, because it feels like, and I get it, Tua's still only year 3, and until this year, he was the outcast and the scapegoat, but we've seen he and McDaniel have a good rapport, and it feels like what was going on, you could see in the game, it wasn't working, but it's funny, as bad, as annoying as the defense was playing, they weren't giving up points. They were allowing the ball to move.
Right.
But they were allowing them to stay in the game. So it was like, okay, in real time, you could feel, shoot, if they can just make this thing or this thing. And they, like you said, they never did. Like, in the game, you're there. What can you do as a player to be like, coach? I know Keyshawn Johnson would say, throw me the damn ball. You weren't that dude. It feels like neither of these guys is that. Even Tyreek Hill really isn't that dude. He seems like a really big team guy. But if you're noticing things you can exploit, because here's the deal. If they're doing that defense to stop one thing, as we know in sports, you can take away one thing, but now it opens up something else. You can't stop everything. What can you do as a player in the game? Because it feels like Mike McDaniel is sort of in this cocoon right now where they let him do his thing. He's been the genius. He's been the guru. Right now, he's hit a rough patch. To me, that's why you have a coaching staff. That's why you have players. That's why when you have a Marino, you have a Brady, we know that they get in talk to the coach. They consult. How involved are the players in the game in trying to change the game plan? Or should they?
It depends on how much clout you have, like you talk about, man. Tua has that clout. Tyreek has that clout. I think, I even think Jalen Waddle has that type of clout. But Mike has had such success. Look at the last 5 weeks before San Francisco, and how do you question anything he's doing? Because the offense was so efficient and, just moving up and down the field at will. Then you run into a snag last week, and it looked like his game plan worked. We just didn't connect. And then we go to this past game. The same game plan for the most part, it looked like at times. And now, everybody's like, well, he didn't make any adjustments. Well, if we went by the San Francisco game, we wouldn't need to make any adjustments. Yeah. We just got to make connections. Yeah. I think in the end game now, though, I think it's going to happen where guys have to come up and you have to come back with some intel for your coaches.
Yes.
The guys upstairs might see one thing, but as you on the field as the actual player, this guy is bailing on me a lot. I can blow by this guy, run this route for this guy. You have to feel comfortable going back to your coach with that type of intel, or go to Tua with it and let Tua, send it to coach and let coach say, you know what? Tyreek needs let's give him a 7 route right here. He's got this guy set up on the takeoff and on the deep post. And I think this is a great opportunity for us to get him on the 7. Speaking of the deep post, the one that Tyreek didn't see was a touchdown, wide open, deep post down the middle of the field. I have no idea what happened right there. Maybe it's a miscommunication in terms of maybe there's supposed to be some air on that. Yeah. Or, but it kind of was like more of a Tua type laser that he might try to throw at times. But it was so far down the field, there has to be an air shot right there. And he runs under that and he scores. Jalen on the takeoff didn't see a ball as well, which he was blown by his guy. Yep. Uncharacteristic of our team to miss those shots. But if we're going to keep doing those shots down the field like that, we got to dump it down sometimes too, man. We've got to lower our eyes. We've got to find. Look, they're talking about Gesicki not getting any targets. Neither does Smythe. Yeah. No tight end gets any targets on this team. Injury to Jeff Wilson hurt us a lot in the beginning because he and Mostert are a 1-2 punch. We had to play Ahmed some, and he couldn't get a couple of tough yards. So there are a lot of things that factored into it. But the bottom line is there was some miscommunication 2 weeks in a row because I know Tua talked about it in San Francisco, and I looked like I saw the same thing, against the Chargers. And then we have to figure out a way to get these backs involved in the pass game. If we're not going to hand it to them, we got to do swings, screens, dumps, and make it look like the same as a run play for us.
Well, and that's the other thing. If teams are going to over pursue at the line of scrimmage, you have to take advantage of it. But that doesn't mean going deep either. Like like you said, they may have a safety over the top, play you tight close, fine, then use the intermediate route, which they haven't been doing at all, and use the check down. That means if they're over pursuing the receivers, that means the running backs, like you just said, and it's what the Chargers did. The Dolphins blitzed so much, and it's why Palmer and Eckler they would run free because everyone's so enamored by Williams and Allen, and they're blitzing that these guys are just open. And that's the kind of thing that Tua's fine. I think it's a lot McDaniel, and we've seen it with these coaches, and that's what makes great coaches great is they don't fall in love with anything. They fall in love with what works. And it feels like McDaniel's fallen in love with this game plan, and he needs to take a step back and go, okay, it's not working right now. This is what'll work. What I do want to say is I do love, and the Tua discussion we've talked about has ebbed and flowed, and it hit a zenith where he was considered he's MVP race. He's atop the league in almost every major category. He's doing his thing, has 2 tough weeks. Now it's up. We knew it. He's horrendous. When it comes to the quarterback position, look, it's funny. Certain guys, and we've seen in the league now, once they get to a point of success, they can do no wrong. You played with one of those guys. Dan Marino could do whatever the hell he wanted. But to me, every quarterback struggles at times. It's how they come back from it. What are your thoughts on not only the way Tua was played, but like the reaction to it and what you think you're going to see from him going forward?
Yeah, it's amazing because a lot of people forgot what Tua's done for us lately. You know what I mean? And they've gone back to, even last week, the San Francisco game, we were like, oh, same old Tua. And of course, this past week, back to Tua. Tua was much better in this game against the Chargers than he was against the Niners. And that's good. That's a good sign. Like we talked about earlier, there was 0 separation. And I'm telling you, there wasn't a lot of separation for the Chargers receivers either, but they were making plays, making catches, and it's going to be tough sometimes. Keenan Allen with all his targets, most of those catches were tight coverage, making plays. So we have to do the same. But I think, no matter what, that number one QB1 position is going to get criticized, especially our guy, because, they love to criticize him.
Yeah.
And I thought we should be happy with the fact that, he had those 5 great weeks. Had a good week, had a bad week in San Francisco, but I thought he came back and threw the ball well. I think maybe play calling, like we talked about, might have played into his lack of success this past week. There are some plays he could have made, and a lot of these quarterbacks, and we saw it. We saw Herbert make some plays with his feet and find guys, and, we see Mahomes do it every single week. That's not really Tua, That's not really Tua, but we did see him lower his shoulder, run, and go get some first downs. We saw a tough Tua out there. A guy was like, oh, don't do that. But he got back up, and that's really all that matters, So, yeah, man, it's like, we've got a guy. We got to believe, and I believe that we've got the Tua from the 5-game win streak. And, of course, another challenge coming up. But at the same time, though, man, I think that he's turned the corner, and he's the guy that we hope it being picked number 5. And he's just got to go out and show and prove, man. It's really sucks, though, Lubie, when we're on national TV. The San Francisco game had a lot of coverage across the country. Of course, the last game was on that in front of the whole world. There's another game in front of the whole world. Those are the times you have to shine, man. Those are times that I love more than anything when I know the whole country, the whole world is watching, man. So our guys have to learn how to shine in these moments.
Well, and that's what the last 2 things I wanted to touch on with you before I let you go. I've from the beginning, I've sort of written this one off as an L just because they were in a good place, and you'll see teams let up. Plus, mid-December July in Buffalo is horrendous. Mid-December in Buffalo is like a freaking joke.
January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, November, and December. All of them are pretty rough in Buffalo.
So I was going to ask you, as a guy who played in Buffalo a lot, and I know we had not great success in Buffalo, what is it like playing there? And look, I've already done the weather report. I'm like, let me see. It's going to be 30, 60% chance of snow, but the snow will be less than an inch. So maybe that's a positive. Maybe it won't be so ice-filled. It'll be like Lambeau. What is it like playing in that? And what can this South Florida team do there?
Well, see, I know we're a South Florida team, but a lot of these guys played in some tough weather, a lot in college. For me, being a South Florida player, but for the Dolphins, hell, I played at Penn State. We played in some nasty weather quite a few times. You never get in December as a college team like we're in now. Usually you're done by after Thanksgiving, right after Thanksgiving, so the weather isn't as bad. But it can still be cold out there. But we did see some snow games this year in the college football game, which is very interesting to watch. Bottom line is this: 30 degrees is nothing, 30 degrees and 60% chance of snow. That's actually pretty good weather. The wide receiver, you can run all day in that. Yeah, you can run all day in that. As long as your footing's good, you can make plays on that. And our guys have to take the mental part of that weather out of it. You know, somebody suggested that they should be there now practicing the snow. If you go out there and practice in the weather right now, they'll be worse off on Sunday because that's all they're going to be thinking about is the weather.
Yeah.
You know, they're going to think about how to layer up, how to get warm, how to stay warm instead of going out there and worry about playing football, man. I'm sure they're going to have some nice chicken broth or something on the sideline. You know, they got the hot seats. They got the big parkers that Joe Chimino and Charlie Teal that they're putting together for them. You know, the weather shouldn't be a factor at all, especially because the weather prediction, it could be up to 7 inches on that day. So that's a good thing that you're looking at less than 1. But here's the thing, though, too, Lubie. We play in the AFC East. Yeah. We better figure out how to play in this weather because the 3 out of the 4 teams are going to be in this weather late in the season, and we just got to get it figured out, man. So, no excuses, bro. Go out there, get it done. You know what I mean? 3 hours on the field and bring your butts home. There's no better place to win than Buffalo on the road, especially a big game like this, man. So, I mean, you talk about a terrible flight coming from L.A. back to Miami after that loss. This would be an incredible flight home if they go out there and win on Saturday night.
Hey, I hope you're right. Before we go, you brought up college. I'd be remiss. We love talking college with you. Your Penn State Nittany Lions, actually, if there was a playoff, would be in it. My nose would be just on the outside looking in, but yours would be in it. We have the bowl season starting Friday. We have the playoffs. I do want to ask, as a guy, we've talked to you about playoffs, then expansion. What are your thoughts about the 12-team playoff that I think starts in the next 2 years? I'm intrigued by it, but I was more of a, let's go to 8, because it feels like those 8, like you have an Alabama, you have a UFC, that could have been, you have a Utah that could have been interesting. When you get to 12, it's like, look, and I know Penn State and my Florida State might have been the 11 and 12. I don't know where they reside when it comes to it. Where do you think about the college football world, not only going from 2 to 4, but now to 12?
Yeah, I don't know about your Florida State being 11 and 12 or 11 to 12, man. I don't know about that, Lubie, but here we go. I'm actually a Florida State fan now because my son goes to school up there. So
nice.
We went up to the Florida State-Florida game, and we had an absolute
I didn't know that.
blast.
That's cool.
But, boy, you guys trending in the right direction. I think Penn State should have been 5 or 6. You know, I don't know. We're probably sitting at 7 or 8. But, look at our 2 losses. Our 2 losses are 2 teams that are in the playoffs this year, you know, with Ohio State and Michigan. Ohio State game got away late. Michigan beat us up early. But I'm going to tell you, man, I'm with you on the 8 games, man. 12 is a lot. It really is a lot, man. And I think that they could have done 6, you know, and the top 2 guys sit at home and let the other 2 figure out who's going to play them. Other 4 teams figure out who's going to play those 2 teams, and then we'll go on from there, man. But I think the expansion is necessary. It eliminates a lot of the, you know, we should have been there, we should have been there, we should have been there. So if you go and get the top, you know, 12 guys now, they've already decided 12 teams, 12 you'll have to get it figured out. But I think 12 is a lot, but I'm glad they are definitely expanding it. They need to expand it.
All right, talking about a guy and team that's expanding, the Fish Tank Podcast. Check them out. Check this gentleman out. CBS 4, 560 WQAM. And once in a while, he finds time for us. We appreciate it, Juice. Thank you so much.
I love it, Lou.
We love you, my
man.
friend, and we will talk soon. And hey, maybe you're right. Maybe that plane ride will be a positive one this Saturday and not a negative one.
Bro, and you know, I'm going to tell you this, too. If they win on Saturday night, it's going to be the most relaxing Sunday they've had in a long time.
We shall see. Here's to a relaxing Sunday. We love you, Juice. Thanks a lot. We'll talk soon.
Thanks for having me on, brother. Appreciate you.
Always a good time talking with the one and only OJ McDuffie. Yes, through a little bit of college football. He's a Penn State legend. Still loves his Nittany Lions. Still pays attention to the game. And the playoffs are close. We have the bowl season kicks off this Friday, but spend most of our time talking about those Miami Dolphins. Tough 2-game stretch. Tua did not, and I actually agree with him. Like, his stats weren't great in the Chargers game, but to me, the receivers weren't open. So it's hard for him to do a lot more than he did. He got hit a lot. The offensive line did not play well, and they not only didn't run well, but McDaniel didn't stick with the run. But I agree with OJ. Like, it was there to be had, and the play calling was a lot to do with what was wrong. And McDaniel is year 1. He's a young coach, and we'll see him. Not only if, I think he will. I agree with OJ in that regard. I think he will make the adjustments. We'll just see what adjustments he makes as they travel up to Buffalo. I unlike OJ, he's talking about wins. I don't think they're going to win. I'm just hoping they are in that game. But I hope that we see some adjustments that we can see used for the rest of the season. I think the Dolphins are still a playoff, not only contender, but a playoff team. And I'm just curious if he didn't learn from the Niners to the Chargers. He figured it was the Niners, but they'd figure it out for the Chargers. He did the same game plan, thinking in Buffalo, in the cold, we'll see a different scheme. Looking forward to that. Looking forward to you finding us each and every morning, 7 to 9. Just search the Defo Show with Lubie. Search South Florida Live on Google or YouTube. Check us out on our national podcast as well. I had a fun conversation with Bad Guy Gone Good, a guy that plays the Russian mobster quite often, Swedish actor, producer, director, and musician, Peter Stormare, his latest film. He is a love interest. Look at him. Food and Romance, out now in theaters and on demand. You can find that, The Believe Network, BLEAV.com. Search After Hours. Really fun conversation with him. And again, most days, right here, our South Florida content, The Defo Show with Lubie on the 5 Reasons Sports Network. On the 5 Reasons.
Hey folks, Tony Segreto here. You know, since day one, Catholic Health Services has been part of Old School. And since we've started letting people know about them, it's changed their lives. You see, Catholic Health Services, while being recognized as one of the top places for stroke rehab in the country, it's also about a group of people who not just excel in what they do, from the doctors to the nurses to the therapists, on and on and on. It's how they do what they do every single day that separates them from the pack. They do it with a passion, unmatched, and the inclusion of family in every step of the process. Trust me when I tell you this. If you want the best, unmatched rehab with a special group of skilled, caring people, there is truly only one place, and that one place is Catholic Health Services.
These days, we're all looking for comfort anywhere we can find it. Thank goodness for Landlubbers Raw Bar and Grill in Plantation, because they are making sure you are as comfortable as possible. First of all, they're not only open for delivery and pickup. All you have to do is go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both pickup and free delivery. You're going to have the best wings in the world. You're going to have a great burger. You're going to have their amazing soups. Again, Landlubbers, Raw Bar and Grill. It's nice and easy. Just go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both your pickup and free delivery. Thank goodness for Landlubbers for making you always feel right at home.
Hey folks, Tony Segreto here. Let me ask you a question. What do you look for when you go out to eat? Good food, obviously, friendly atmosphere, not too loud, but good energy, reasonable prices, and a place where you feel comfortable. All those ingredients, no pun meant there, are hard to find unless you're talking about the Texas Roadhouse. You see, they encompass all of those attributes. Really, really good food, amazing atmosphere, good for a family, good for a date, or just a night out for yourself, and prices that will make you extremely happy. Their ribs unmatched, steaks hand-cut every day. Everything, and I mean everything, is made on site, including their incredible bread. It's the one day, folks, that you can forget about low-carb diets. Trust me when I tell you, Texas Roadhouse, your restaurant, your destination when you say, where should we go and eat tonight?